Shanti Shanti Shanti. I'm going a little faster because I can, it is probably one of the few places I can go a little faster. And because the purport is not to see what came out at what time, that's not the idea. The purpose of this to see that that all that is given is not separate from the giver. Bhashya. तस्माच्च पुरुषात् कर्मांग भूताः देवाः बहुधाः वसवादि वसु आदि गणभेदेन संप्रसूताः सम्यक् प्रसूताः. So tasmaच्च and here means furthermore what? From this Purusha alone, who are what? These devas, these devatas. Devata doesn't mean gods. What do they mean? What does it mean? Yeah, celestial beings who are in charge of various functions and in the various jobs. Functionaries who make sure that the whole order, that is this spreading order, this whole universe runs properly. So in other words, celestials are nothing but Bhagavan in the form of certain wish fulfilling devatas, for example, or obstacle removing, wish fulfilling, someone who is helping with some problems, all these things. There are so many devatas. Bahudhaha. Bahudhaha means they are still coming out. You can have many more devatas. And somewhere I saw that there is one AIDS Amma. Yes, in India there is a mother who people go if they have AIDS. This is what somewhere in Andhra Pradesh there is one AIDS Amma temple they have built, I heard. So like this there are so many new according to the demands and the exigencies of the times, there are just like new jivas are coming out. These are also new celestial jivas are being invoked. And so Vasu means there are so many Vasus. There are these what are they called, names of certain devas. Samprasuta. Vasu Adi means starting with all the Vasus, Bhedena, Vasu Adi Gana, Vasu Ganas, and all these Ganas means types of celestials, Bhedena, divided accordingly. Samprasutaha means they were effortlessly incarnated, effortlessly they came out. Sadhya. So who is this Sadhyaha? Sadhya is Deva Visheshaha, means they are specific kinds of devatas, the kind of wish fulfilling devatas. Sadhyaha they are called. And then Vasus are 8 in number, and then so 8 Vasus. Vasu Adi means then we have to take Rudra. There are supposedly 12 Rudras, 8 Vasus. Like this there are certain Ganas, groups of celestials. Some celestials come one by one and some come in a group because of their own karmas, I suppose. So 8 Vasus, 12 Rudras, like this, and no, not 12, 11 Rudras. That's why Rudra has 11 mantras. And then 12 what? Adityas. Yeah, 12 Adityas, 11 Rudras, 8 Vasus, and sadhyas, numerous sadhyas, and all these, devatas come in groups. Some come one by one, like this, they all came. Then what did they do? Then what happened? Then of course our fellows came, Manushyaha. And why? What is the definition of Manushyahas? Karma adhikritaha te. They are all entitled to do karma. But donkey is also entitled to do karma, is it not? It too is doing the karma of kicking. Yes, it does. Donkey is entitled to kick. But what? It doesn't have the free will. It doesn't have the free will to not kick. That is the whole idea. So therefore, even though other, you see the beaver, chewing up the tree, and then you see the ants, and the termites chewing up the house, and you see the, something or the other, the woodpecker is also pecking, and everything is always in motion. All the animals are doing something. But that is not called doing. Why? Because they are doing it out of a sense of being programmed. They are not doing it to fulfill either their own desires other than the basic needs or the desires of somebody they love. They are not trying to fulfill all that. They are just trying to, get by and do whatever they need to do, and in the process they are doing whatever they are programmed to do. The beaver is supposed to chew the tree, and the donkey is supposed to kick. This is how it is. That's what they are meant for. Whereas this fellow is only the one who is karma adhikrita. Manushyaha, these fellows, our fellows, who are, again when we say sadhya, devaha, manushyaha, we only mean the upadhi, okay? Yeah, it doesn't mean the human being was created, no. Okay, so tasmat devaha vasvadiganabhedeन samprasutaha, we saw that sadhya, deva visheshaha, manushyaha, karma adhikritaha, means they are the only one qualified to do karma. Qualified means using their free will. Otherwise, all the other animals do not use their free will, they are programmed. Pashavo gramyaranyaha. Pashavaha means what? And vayamsi pakshinaha. So, Pashavaha, animals. The animals, Adi Shankara is dividing into two categories. Gramyaha means those that are found in the villages, such as cows, dogs, cats, sheep, goat, etc. And then Aranyaha. Aranyaha means what? Wild animals, forest animals, big cats, hyenas, all these things, elephants too, all these things are wild animals. So domesticated animals, Gramyaha, and Aranyaha means what? Aranyaha means the wild animals, forest animals, and then domesticated animals. And then Vayamsi. Vayamsi means birds, starting with dinosaur, velociraptor, all these raptors. The birds are the descendants, that's all they are, sad little descendants of these big dinosaurs. Then Jivanam cha manushadinam pranapano vrihi yavau havir arthau. So havihi arthau. So Jivanam cha. So this fellow now has to lead his life, correct? All these fellows, the wild animals, has to lead their lives. How? By eating the manushyas. That's how. And then the birds have to lead their lives by eating certain grains and seeds. And the human being also has to lead his or her life. So therefore, we need food. So once the human beings have come, meaning the body mind, okay, not the jivas. So once the human beings have come, they are starting to forage, correct? Now that's why even when you come out of sleep, you have to open the cupboard immediately. It's natural. Where is the vrihi bread? Vrihi, yava, now we have in the form of cereals. That's all it is, And so even after waking up from sleep, it's like, it's different avastha. So you wake up from sleep, what happens? You have to immediately head to the food bin and, chow down something. That is the whole idea. So similarly, if Bhagavan had put these bodies, minds on the earth without food, he would never hear the end of it. So thinking, he also said, let's give them some grains. First was wild rice, vrihi, because obviously this fellow did not know how to cultivate, being a caveman, So he just knew how to grunt. That's all he knew. Basic fellow. But it would take a long time for him to be first, see, the animals came as domesticated and wild, naturally. The human beings only wild. Then later on, much later, domesticated by the Veda. Yeah, human being doesn't come in two. All first came Prakrita Buddhaya alone. This is our capital. This is Vedanta teacher's capital, because if everyone was born Samskrita Buddhi, where would we go? We need something to do here. And so we count on the fact that everyone is born Prakrita Buddhi, so that we can keep being in circulation, like a penny. That's the whole kind of a thing. And so therefore, so everyone, see, even though the animals are born domesticated, some animals are lend themselves to domestication, and they happily move in. I mean, even the Cleopatra and all those times, they found cats in the tomb with the owners, and so like this, so you can see this, that first the cat died, it was mummified and preserved, and then when the owner died, the cat was brought and put next to the owner and put in a tomb. Like this we hear. And so like this, so certain animals naturally lend themselves to be petted, to sit on your lap, to go for a walk, and to give milk and without complaining, all these things, and but the human beings, they don't fall in that category at all. Human being, wild with desires, wild with wanting to fulfill the desires. And so therefore the human being is just not these two. I was wondering, whole morning I looked at this sentence, why does he divide the animals, Adi Shankara? Because Adi Shankara doesn't do things without a reason. Why does he what is the reason to say Pashavaha, Gramyaha, Aranyaha? Why he is making a distinction? Because in the human being there is no such distinction which comes really before that. In the human being there is only one variety, wild. And then slowly the Veda has to tame this fellow, tame the raga, tame the dvesha, tame the anger, tame the disappointment, tame the pressure of the desires, and then make them, domesticate this fellow. That's what it is. The Vedas domesticate the person, otherwise just born wild, Think of this caveman, like Flintstone, of course, is a very cute version, but you think of the other caveman mythology, stories, all these things we hear, movies, etc. So, Jivanam cha, Jivanam means that, you need to live. Once you have been given a body, life has to take place. So, if life has to take place, what happens when life has to take place? The person has to breathe, correct? So, prana, pana. So, the elimination and the breathing has to be there. Intake and outtake of breath. Because why? This person is always doing a double take, always confused, always worried, always anxious. But somehow the life has to go on, and through all of this, the fellow is happily breathing. Sometimes hyperventilates, puts on a paper bag, and then takes it off, continues to do prana apana. Keeps on breathing in, keeps on breathing out, because that's one of the first markers of life, correct? So the first markers of life in this body is to make sure that one is breathing. So if there is a doubt, you put a small mirror. If somebody is in a coma for many years and they have, whether to find out they have passed away or not, you put a small mirror under the nose, and if the condensation appears, okay, you cannot, touch the will yet, because they are still there, Yeah, you have to wait for some more time, and so that is the sign. So the pranapana continues, and then the man, some poem was there, man cannot live by breath alone, correct? And so therefore what? Some cereals, starting with Fruit Loops, etc. Everything was given. In the olden days, the name for the brand names for what is that? Corn flakes, rice flakes, all these was Vrihi and Yava. All the cereals and the grains came down, just a matter of speaking. And then he says that these cereals were the ones that are offered. Havihi arthau, Vrihi Yavau. So, you're not supposed to, this is part of the domestication of this wild beast called the human being. Yeah. What is the domestication? Don't eat before you offer it to anyone else first. Yeah, that's what it is. You offer and then you eat. And then the Bhagavad Gita makes no compunction and says that these people who only cook for themselves, they are what? They are stena eva saha. Stena means they are thieves. Yeah, they are thieves. Ye pachanti atmakaranat. Actually, it should be pachante, but that's okay. Pachanti, ye pachanti atmakaranat. For themselves alone, they are only taking care of themselves. They are not, they are not sharing anything. And such people, he calls them all kinds of Sanskrit 4-letter words. Stena. And then what else he calls them? Aghayuhu. Aghayu. Agha means papa. Ayu means life. So your whole life is one big unending papa. Aghayuhu. Indriyaramaha. Indriyaramaha means those that are only there for sense gratification. Mogham sajivati. That person's life is a useless waste of time. All the resources that their parents put into, taking care of this fellow is useless. And then what? Mother Earth, each time they walk, Mother Earth goes, ow! There is a burden on Mother Earth. So that is what Mogham Partha Sajivati. And then by contrast, Yajnashishtaha Ashinaha Santaha Muchyante Sarvakilbishaihi. Whereas people who eat that is left over of that which is offered to Bhagavan, offered to others, who participate in this life of yajna, meaning yajna means a sacrifice. So something has to be sacrificed here. But in the West, it's all about me, 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 me. Actually, in the East also it's about me, 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 but the me is defined differently. In the East, me is Brahman. In the West, me is body, mind, sense complex. That's all it is. So therefore, yajna shishtas ashinaha. Ashinaha means the eaters of the leftover after offering in the yajna. Here, as soon as the dish is made, we want to swaha ourselves. Correct? Yeah. And so there, what we are told to do is offer it in the fire, which is a way to offer it to Bhagavan. So small portion. And then what? Then all the people you have invited, you give them. And then what remains, you eat. So all that is yajna. Feeding the other people is also yajna. And then yajna shishta ashinaha. So ashinaha means the eaters of the remainder of the yajna. Sometimes something remains, sometimes a little bit only remains. Whatever it is you take. You don't say, okay, let me just secure my portion and I want this, I want that, I'm going to keep it separate and then feed these other people, Like you take this, sometimes you make this, this vegetables and gravy, in the gravy. So you keep all the vegetables aside in a nice patram and then feed the gravy to the invitees. Sambar, just the sambar water you feed to the invitees, and the nice vegetables, tasty vegetables you keep, only the sauce you give them, you keep the vegetables. That's not the idea. So muchyante sarva kilbishaihi, for such people all the ragadveshas they are freed of and they qualify for this knowledge. Bhunjate tu agam papaha ye pachanti atmakaranat. Whereas, the flip side is what? If you just cook for yourself and eat for yourself and not bothered about others who are around you, then what happens? You have a lifelong of what you're not eating is food, you're eating papa. That is what the whole thing is. And so, keeping that in mind, Adi Shankara says, Havihi Arthau. See, this is Adi Shankara. He immediately remembers Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't say, oh, what was that verse? Oh, let me think. Why I have to remember now? He doesn't think like that. Immediately when he sees this, he recalls that. This is what is called Samanbhaya, where you constantly see the Ekavakyata, the unanimity of the commitment of all the scriptures in the tradition to free you from samsara. That is what is called samanvaya, where the knowledge gets much more firmed and internalized, in a very real way. Assimilate the knowledge. So therefore he says havirarthau means for the sake of havis. That, so first it was created for the sake of havis, and then the person enjoys what is left over from the havis, from the yajna. Tapascha karmangam purusha samskara lakshanam. See, another for my theory that the person is born wild, another what is that point here in support of this what I just articulated. So what is tapaha? Purusha samskara lakshanam, that which domesticates this wild beast. Yeah, that which domesticates this wild fellow. And what is this wild fellow doing? The wild fellow is wildly behaving, getting up whenever he wants, she wants, whenever, he means jiva here, wild beast. So this bestial, ways of being. The bestial way of being is to just watch out for yourself. That's what the animal does. Even if the animal has a baby and it is surrounded by some, lions and hyenas and these meerkats and all these things. The meerkats are very dangerous. They look small, and some people said they look cute. To some people they may even look cute. But do not underestimate these meerkats. They have SMS. Now they are finding out that they have SMS. Without the need for smartphone, they are smart enough to SMS because they are small. They cannot, they are slightly bigger than a house cat. So they are not able to tackle the prey. But many hands make light work. They know that. And so they SMS, somehow they send out some, some kind of signals that there is lunch here. It is too big for me to carry out. Please come and help. Please come and help with this. This takeout order is too big. Please come and help. And then they all gather and watch. They're all, and before this, unsuspecting deer knows it, it is, the deer one is surrounded by these meerkats. Don't underestimate them. So these wild beasts, what do? They are not bothered. Oh, this deer has a baby. Where will the baby go? They're not bothered. They are just okay. I have to take care of myself. It will rarely do animals show compassion. It is there. The possibility is there. Once the lion killed or maimed, fatally maimed a monkey. This lion, and the monkey went off somewhere and presumed to have died because it was not seen. It limped off and went to somewhere, hid in the bushes and died. Monkey had a small baby. The other babies are able to take care of themselves. This is a tiny one. And the first lion was intrigued. Why is it so restless? Why is it moving on? What is it doing? And this is all National Geographic. Wonderful. And so it could not kill this baby. It could not. And they watched it with a camera to see what it will do. 3 days it took care of it. And the baby is, playing with its tail. And do you think the lion would allow anybody to play with the tail? Come on. And this baby is playing with the tail and putting its little finger inside the ear of the lion. All these photos are there. Sitting on the lion's head, literally. And the lion is just helplessly thinking, my karma, why did I have to go after the mother? Now I have to foster this stupid baby. So the mother went away because, mother was also looking out for herself. And the mother, did not think, what should I do with the child? She left the child there and went. And somehow Bhagavan came in that lion and said, okay, I have to watch out for this. And then it also, after the second or the third day, it started to think it is my baby and got very possessive. And when the researchers were trying to wait till the lion naps and take away the baby and, rescue it and send it to some proper foster mothers, the lion did not allow. Even in its sleep, it would growl if it sensed somebody coming. So like this, 3 days went by And then finally the lion could not babysit all the time because it also was starting to feel hungry. And so when it went to do something, to kill something else and to look for prey, they quickly rescued this baby, who was not at all terrified. Like that's what the whole thing is. So in nature, even though this compassion is seen once in a while, it's very few and far between. More often we see the mother abandoning the baby and going. This is the bestial behavior. If the animal cannot stand up to follow the herd, that animal will be abandoned. And the snake, apparently after laying eggs, feels very hungry. And it says, oh good, omelette, protein. And if it gives birth to 6 eggs, it will eat half of them. This is Bhagavan's way of population control. But this fellow is also likewise wild, correct? Now, if there is any hope for this fellow, our fellow, this Manushya, then there is in the tapas. The tapas makes this prakrita buddhi into samskrita buddhi by giving certain samskaras. Yes, we know you are hungry, but you cannot eat now. Why? Because today is Ekadashi. You cannot eat now. But what is Ekadashi? It's the 11th day of the waning or waxing moon. But what does it have to do with me? That day you are not fed. Simple. That's what it. Why should I know this? Because you remember to eat a little more the previous day, or hide some food in your room where nobody sees you, like Devadatta eats during the night. So like this, this is what the whole thing is. Ekadashi, I cannot eat. Oh, but I want ice cream. No, you cannot have it. Oh, but I really want to have this. No. And so the raga dveshas rage in the mind, and smoke comes out like in the comics, out of these fellows' ears. And after that, you cannot eat. There is no food. You have to make do. Correct? And then the raga dvesha says, okay, I'm going to sleep now. This person is not listening to me. There's only 2 possibilities. Either you listen to the raga dveshas, or then you make them listen to you. Your choice. Which do you want? Better. Good choice. Make them listen to you, or you listen to them. So there's only 2 possibilities. So if you don't listen to them and you make them listen to you, that means you are samskrita buddhi. If you listen to them, you are beast. One is a beast. Prakrita buddhi. So this is what the whole idea is, and that is what he is giving, that Purusha samskara lakshana, that which makes this beast into a human being, is the tapas. Tapas means that certain austerities. You give up certain things, not what you don't like. What you like, you give up. People go to Kashi and give up Karela. That's not the idea. Bitter gourd, You give up something that you are addicted to. That's the whole idea. And so like this, the whole thing is a setup. It's set up so that this beast, who is capable of being groomed to study the Veda and finally to study Vedanta, and groomed for self-knowledge, you immediately cannot wear the tuxedo, correct? You can't make the caveman wear a tuxedo. Think about it. He is going to just, pick off, what is that? Some bow is there, correct? One bow. That bow he's going to pick, he's going to chew, and if there is a flower, he's going to eat that. He's going to think that's an appetizer, and he's not going to be comfortable. He's going to break all the buttons, because prakrita buddhi, correct? So tuxedo means some samskara is there. So put this fellow in the tuxedo, means certain steps should be there, intermediary steps. First you have to tell this person how to walk, how to sit. First you have to give them ordinary clothes, which they will of course tear off for the first few times, and then you have to be patient and keep giving them clothes and keep telling them, look, this is nice and it keeps you warm and doesn't expose you to the elements. All this you have to do it gradually. Then after all that, and after they have learned how to walk, how to talk, all this, then you can introduce tuxedo, correct? So similarly here, Vedanta is the tuxedo. to get into the tuxedo, this caveman with no adhikaritvam needs a series of tapas. Tapaha also means heat. You have to turn up the heat, not on the person, on the ragadveshas. Yeah, you turn up the heat and they go, ayyo, 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 amma, amma, amma. They're all crying. And then what? They die away. And then, all the impurities die away in the heat of this tapas. And then the person is ready for this neatly fitting tuxedo. You are the whole. That is what the whole thing is. So, this tapas, the main purpose is to groom this fellow to be a decent human being who can keep the ragadveshas at bay through meditation, through puja, through fasting, etc. And then what? And then then the tapas has one more work. What is that? Tapascha karmangam. Yeah. So karmangam, that is one more thing of tapas. That it is a anga of the karma. It's a preparation for karma. Not only is it a preparation for one's life to gain this self-knowledge, it's an intermediate preparation for every karma that you are going to do. Because you see, first what you are supposed to do is you say Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum, that's a form of tapas. You knock here and you're knocking at the ragadveshas and saying, keep quiet, don't come in the way. I'm praying to Ganesha so that you are not in the way. I have your number, Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. And then what you do, you sip the water. Achyutag Namaha, Anantag Namaha, Govindag Namaha. And then what? You wash your hands, you sip the water. And then you take a flower, and you have sanctified the water before you sip it, and in that you take the flower and you purify all the things that are going to be used for worship, including this body. So then Atmanam Prokshya, Deham Prokshya. So you purify this by sprinkling the water. Then after that what? That is also a tapas. Then you sit in meditation, that let nothing come in the way, let everything go smoothly. This is also tapas. So this tapas here is a preparation for all the puja and other karmas, but in its own right, it's not only just a karmanga, but it's in its own right, it has the distinction of grooming this wild fellow, led by the Tarzan, led by ragadveshas. Okay. So then what happens here? Karmangasha swatantram cha, by itself, he says, phala sadhanam, by itself also the tapas done gives its own fruits. Not only immediate fruits but also punya. Tapas gives punya, phala sadhanam. I don't know why he said you cannot pour new wine into old skins. Yeah, later you can explain why you said that. But anyway, so tapascha karmangam purusha samskara lakshanam swatantram cha phala sadhanam. So by itself also it's a standalone way of earning karma, karma phala. Shraddha yat purvakah sarva purushartha sadhana prayogah chitta prasadah astikya buddhihi tatha astikya buddhihi. So what is Shraddha? He is very beautiful, definition of Shraddha he gives. What is this Shraddha? He says it yat purvakah, having which in the foreground, sarva purushartha sadhana prayogah, that without which, if Shraddha is not there in the foreground, you can kiss goodbye to all your goals. That's what he says. Sarva purushartha sadhana prayogah. So prayogah means usefulness, the use of sarva sadhana, all the sadhanas, all the purusharthas is all based on what? What is in the foreground? Shraddha. Otherwise, why do any work? You do the work being sure that you will get the result. That is Shraddha. And another meaning, not suspicious all the time, because the Veda is given, Astikya Buddhi, he says, that the Veda is given for my benefit. What she says has to do with my good. It's for my own good the Veda has been given. So that is astikya buddhi, sarva sadhana. You know what is that? Sarva purushartha sadhana prayogah. Yeah. And then sarva purushartha means purushaihi sarvaihi arthyate, that which is wanted by all beings. What is that? Some, security, pleasure, all these things. And freedom from always having to look for security, pleasure also, which is moksha. So then sarva purushartha sadhana prayogaha. So these purusharthas become the sadhana, become the shraddha becomes the means for these purusharthas. Because without shraddha, I can't do anything either secular, mundane or religious. Even to do something like cooking a meal or doing something, going to work, you have some shraddha that I will reach there, correct? Yeah, you have the shraddha, I will reach there. Even something simple, it's not religious, eating. That doesn't have to be a religious act. It is in our tradition, but it doesn't have to be. You can just say this is a mundane, nothing to do with God. I am just eating my food. There is shraddha. How? Because I am ensuring, that I believe that it will go to the right tube. It will not go to the air tube. It will reach the esophagus. Somehow there is shraddha. So Adi Shankara uses shraddha in both ways. He defines. One is as the basis for all actions. Shraddha, all actions that lead to your goals, whether those goals are just mundane, regular goals or spiritual goals or big goals, small goals, doesn't matter. And then the second definition, he says, is that it is astikya buddhi, that if I depend on the Veda to fulfill any of my desires, then I know that the Veda is wanting only the best for me. The Veda doesn't want anything for me that will make it difficult. So Shraddha Bhakti Purassaraha. Purassaraha means that which is, backed by. That the only thing that is there in front is the Shraddha. Shraddha Yat Purvakaha. And, and earlier in the same Upanishad, Adi Shankara said Shraddha Bhakti Purassaraha. Same thing. So then we have, the second definition, which is Astikya Buddhi. Astikya Buddhi means the trust in the Veda that it will help me either get what I want or free me from this relentless wanting, this notion of incompleteness. So that is the second definition. Then he says Chitta Prasadaha. Third definition is the lack of anxiety, a cheerful disposition. Because once you have Shraddha, that okay, Bhagavan will take care. Astikya Buddhi. So Chitta Prasada means a cheerful disposition that okay, I am doing my best. Let us see, it's not in my hands. Let us see what happens. So that kind of a Buddhi. Astikya Buddhi, Shraddha. Then cheerful disposition. Then now Satyam, Anrita Varjanam. Varjanam means devoid of falsehood. So the person who is, not always what? Given to falsehood. The person who is free of falsehood. Satya Vachanam, Satya Bhashanam. Interesting definition, because it is harder to think of Satyam, easier to think of lies and is falsehoods. And then since one is connecting to falsehood easily, Adi Shankara says, Anrita Varjanam, free of falsehoods. And also this Satya includes free of falsehoods, all right, but you cannot say things that hurt people. So you have to say it in a way that is, pleasing to hear. Satyam Vada, Priyam Vada. And then Yatha Bhutartha Vachanam Cha. Oh, he says this. Okay. Apida Karam. Apida Karam means not hurting. Pida means hurt. Yatha, affliction. Apida, no affliction. Yathartha bhuta vachanam, speaking the truth as it is in a way that does not cause affliction to the hearer. That is what is called Satyam here. Satyam is not Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Okay? Yeah. Then Brahmacharyam Maithuna Asamacharah Vidhischa iti kartavyata. So Brahmacharyam, usually he does not define it like this. Adi Shankara's definition is Brahmani Charati, the one who is committed to Brahman no matter who it is. And here it's a different definition. Let's see what our Gambhiranandaji says. Oh, we are already on the next one here. Two back, yes. Yeah, so Amaithuna Samacharah. Samacharah means behavior. Amaithuna means celibacy. So here he is describing Brahmacharya as celibacy, one of the rare places. Adi Shankara is doing that. Generally, he uses the other definition which I have given. Brahmani Charitum Sheelam Asya Asti. The one who has the capacity, the commitment to only focus on Brahman. So that is what is called Brahmacharya. But here he says it includes celibacy. Yes, celibacy is not, it's not about, it's a tapas. That's what the celibacy here is. Tapas means there is a certain, what's that? There is a certain kind of a commitment that I make. And celibacy becomes important in a quest like this, if one is doing it full time, because it becomes a distraction, compared to other ragadveshas, this one is very particularly cloying in a certain way. And so therefore it is emphasized here. It's a particular kind of a lifestyle followed in ashrams, etc. So that is the Brahmacharya Maithuna Asamacharah. And then Vidhi cha iti kartavyata. Vidhi means do this, don't do this, that all the do's and don'ts. The do's and don'ts have to be part of any action, because whatever you do, you should know how to do, correct? And you should know what not to do, more important, right? Yeah. Like if you want to make yogurt, and then you have the starter, which is a little yogurt, and then you take the milk from the fridge and mix it and sit and wait, nothing will happen. Why? Because you have done something that you should not do. Put the yogurt in the cold milk. And you haven't done something that you should have done, which is warmed up the milk. So this is vidhi and nishedha. So in every action there is how to do it, how not to do it, what should be done, how should it be done, what time it should be done. So the Veda is full of injunctions and prohibitions. Not Vedanta. There is no injunctions, you must know Brahman. No. There is no injunctions like that, because you are already Brahman. So therefore you cannot be, coerced to know that which you already are. So, and also even if you are coerced, the rishis knew, those who channeled the Vedas, that not just because one is coerced, one will not get into self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is a matter of choice. It's a purushartha. So therefore, just like you pursue your desires, moksha is also a desire that you pursue. What is the difference? The difference is that moksha frees you from being a desiring person. That's the only thing. So iti kartavyata, and how to do all this came along with all these things, and then after that we will see many more things came, and then that we will see after a month. So this is the last Mundakopanishad class. For a while we'll send emails and let you know. Because I don't even know when I'm going, so I don't know when I'm coming back. So that is why we'll see how it will all go. And then tomorrow, of course, we have Bodhasara, 9:30. You can sleep in, and then 9:30 to noon we have Bodhasara. Okay. This afternoon nothing. Yeah. I may take a class for them if. This one is in shape, and for this one, so whoever wants can come. Yeah, I may take a class for Usha and Janani because they happen to be here, but it's not just for them. So whoever wants come, you can come. I don't know what it will be on. We'll see. We'll meet at 4 o'clock since that's a time. Yeah. And then, yeah, they are getting excited. 4 o'clock. Yeah. So 4 o'clock you can come if people want. Okay. Don't know about only here. Yeah, that's enough. So, yeah, no live stream. Come here because this is a private thing. Yeah. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Last October, 2 Octobers ago, Pujya Swamiji announced one special private retreat. But of course, it was the most public and the most widely attended. Yeah, so that's what happens. This is nice. Fortify yourself.